Hi, I'm Robert Osborne, and welcome to day 4 of TCM's 20th anniversary week. And to make it even more special, we've invited 20 of our ultimate fans to be a guest programmer. Sit with me and introduce one of their favorite films. Well, our next guest of honor is Kass from New York City, New York, New York. Thanks for being here, Hannah.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great. And Hannah's pick is the 1955 musical drama Young at Heart, the one and only film pairing of two of the screen's best singers, Doris Day and Frank Sinatra. Now, that is a magical combination, but why particularly of all the movies you could have chosen, did you pick this one?
So I've been a classic movie fan ever since I was very little, and this is the first film that I was conscious of calling my favorite movie. I had a little piece of paper I taped up on my wall in my room. It was like Hannah's top 10 favorite movies, and I wrote it in pencil so I could change it.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it my favorite movie anymore, but I think that it is a movie that still fascinates me for many reasons. It sort of straddles multiple genres. You know, is it a musical? Is it what? You know, is it a comedy? Is it a drama?
It's a very dramatic story, basically.
Right. It's almost
based
more
on the
of a
movie
drama.
Four Daughters.
And I knew Young at Heart for years before I ever knew it was a remake.
Right.
And I learned from TCM, actually, from hearing the same script almost.
Right.
Coming from the TV, and I said, that's not Young at Heart, but it sounds like. But I realized that it was a remake, and I think it's kind of that drama, but a vehicle for these two amazing singers.
And
so
that's what I think is so
musical.
fabulous about it.
Yeah.
It's the fact you have Doris Day and Frank Sinatra, these two great voices, and two distinctly different personalities in a movie together as lovers, and so effective together.
So effective, and I think what is amazing about this musical is, unlike other musicals, it's not as though the scenes sort of build to a musical number. They're a musical family. So it's when they're performing, it almost naturally comes out of the environment that these characters live in. And it's not one composer writing all the music. It's sort of a smattering of some of the best standards.
Some new songs, but a lot of the old songs that were so great.
You have someone to watch.
Because Warner's had that big library of old films that they got back in the days when sound first came to movies. So that's utilizing that, plus new songs by Sammy Cahn and
and Young at Heart came out of this. It's a wonderful film, and it also brings so many fantastic character actors and other figures in this cast. I mean, Ethel Barrymore, I think it's one of her greatest. She's so wonderful as the maiden aunt, and in her interaction with Frank Sinatra. That's something I almost missed when I saw Four Daughters later, that the pacing that they have in that scene where they first meet, these two great personalities on
two
screen.
Legends right there, Ethel Barrymore and Frank Sinatra working together. And what I loved about, they recently, Nancy Sinatra Jr. has this wonderful Seriously Sinatra radio thing on XM radio. And she had an interview recently with Doris Day talking about what great friends that she and Frank were. And I'd never really heard that before. And it was interesting that all these years later, she still fondly so remembered Frank Sinatra and working with him in this one picture.
That's wonderful. And such a shame this was their only collaboration in the movies.
Well, let's see the movie. Here it is. Also with, as we said, Ethel Barrymore, Gig Young, and Dorothy Malone in the cast as well. From Doris Day and her husband Marty Melcher's own production company, Arwen Productions, and released by Warner Brothers in January of 1955, Young at Heart. Such great songs in that movie. And I'm back with the guest programmer who selected that film for us to see, one of our 20 ultimate fans here with me to celebrate our 20th anniversary, Kass in New York City. So what do you do in New York City?
I'm an English teacher, high school English teacher.
Great.
Yeah, in the New York City public school system.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And do you find many kids that are interested in older films?
I do not, regrettably. And I grew up as an avid fan of classic movies, and it's rare that I see young people who are exposed to them.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and so I think it is something that I advocate in my classroom. I show movies as often as I can.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it needs somebody to influence them to see them for the first time.
Absolutely.
But we're always so pleased at our film festival and on our cruise that so many young people are there.
It's wonderful, and I've been on the TCM cruise a couple of times, and it was really special for me because I grew up in a suburb of Philadelphia, and a lot of the people I was friends with did not know the movies that I loved, and I longed for, you know, fellow young people who would talk movies with me, and got that through TCM and through being here as well.
One last question for you about remakes. This was a remake of Four Daughters, and totally different in tone. Any other remakes that you've seen that you liked? Maybe the original better than the remake, or what?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that most often I like the original better than the remake. I think some films I go back and forth a little bit, like An Affair to Remember and Love Affair, High Society and The Philadelphia Story. I think there are pros and cons in both categories. Young at Heart,
two good examples.
Yeah, right.
One of the great things about the original of Four Daughters is the fact that the part Sinatra plays in Young at Heart was played by John Garfield.
Yeah.
It was his first
film. His debut, right.
And it was such a dynamic performance. And in that story, he dies at the end of it. So it's very tragic. So it was like a big impact that he made.
Yeah, and I
made
heard,
him a star overnight.
I heard that Doris Day wanted to keep that original ending in Young at Heart, but Frank Sinatra really fought to have his character live in the end. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank
You've been
you.
a great,
This is a dream
great
come
guest
true.
programmer.
Thank you.
And good luck to you in all your pursuits.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and we'll see you on another cruise.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. And you, please stay with us. Next, we'll be sitting down with another TCM fan who's going to be here to talk about a film that also contains some unforgettable music. It's a movie that stars Sammy Davis Jr., features in the cast Frank Sinatra Jr., and is a film we've never shown on TCM before.